The CFL, and I know you have dreams and aspirations. You would love to play in the NFL. Do you see yourself playing in the NFL? There's a lot of there's the last couple of years we've seen a lot of CFL players get into the NFL. They've gotten contracts. The Jets had three players coming from the CFL last year that played on their defense with all the injuries. Do you see yourself being picked up or signed by one of these NFL teams in the future?
Uh, maybe if that opportunity came up, I would. But like right now, I'm only like I hate to be like cliche or whatever, but I'm just focused on Hamilton and winning a Grey Cup, and then after that, this season, whenever my contract's up, we'll see what happens. But I'd like to stick in Hamilton for the long haul. But if the opportunity arises, yeah, for sure, I'd love to give it another run at NFL again.
It's interesting to me. I want to, and I'm sure you're not going to tell me how much you make every single year, but I'm very interested and intrigued on how much a CFL player makes in the CFL from the NFL. I mean, you don't have to tell me how much you make, but borderline numbers. How much do an average CFL player make from a contract every single year?
I'd say average, you probably make 110 Canadian.
Really?
110,000.
That's not bad.
Yeah, so it's pretty nice. I mean, it's nothing.
Well, you're not making millions of dollars, obviously.
Driving like Teslas or anything, but it is nice.
Do you think, in terms of the Canadian following as a whole, because it's a hockey country, really, that's its big sport, they love lacrosse, they love a lot of other things more than they did football, do you think that has hurt the CFL as a whole, or do you think the Canadians as a whole really embrace football more than people realize?
Oh yeah, Canadians embrace football more than I ever realized. I don't know about everyone else, but yeah, like the fans are pretty ruthless up there. Like I've been to a couple places. I've been to some pro games. I even played like in Baltimore, and it's honestly pretty much the same atmosphere that you get there at some places. I mean, like Vancouver doesn't have as much as a following, but like you go to Winnipeg, you go to Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan seats like 70,000 people.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean it's all like it's basically just like the league in down south, honestly.
Now, Jaelon, I grew up, I was a wide receiver too when I played high school football. I grew up a Jerry Rice fan. I also loved Brandon Marshall when he played for the Broncos. Was there a particular player growing up, you're 24 years old, that you followed and you wanted to be like? I mean, I know you said the quarterback, John Elway, but you're a wide receiver now, and you're looking at the position now, and you want to try to characterize the way you play at the position. Was there a particular player that you grew up as a wide receiver that you liked, that stood out to you out of all the wide receivers in the NFL?
Yeah, but I'd have to go college and say Michael Crabtree at Texas Tech. I used to always watch his games with, who was that quarterback? Graham Harrell. I actually had their jerseys, the Texas Tech jerseys. I used to watch them as a kid.
He also played with Johnny Manziel, didn't he?
Crabtree.
No, that was Texas A&M.
Texas A&M, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love Johnny Manziel too, but wide receiver, Crabtree.
Do you think, in terms of the way the offensive NFL schemes are shifted now, there's a lot of wide receivers lining up as running backs, vice versa. You see running backs that are pass-catching backs and line up all over the place. Could you see the CFL kind of adopting a lot of those concepts, those college-type offenses, motion-type offenses? Do you see that kind of transitioning happening, or do you think it's going to be a little more sticking to their values?
Yeah, you can see it. We saw it a little bit last year, even with like our running backs. You have to be versatile now with all the defenses and what they do to kind of counteract it. We had a really good running back that was able to do a little bit of everything. He played wide out, run A and B too. But yeah, you can see it shifting a little bit in Canada, but I don't know how much it'll shift just because we have 2 downs and the Canadian ratio. A lot of people are using Canadian running backs now and using 4 American wide receivers. So if you don't know about the Canadian ratio, you have to have like a certain number of Canadian players on the field to American. So it gets really complicated, and I don't even know it. I just know whenever I'm on the field and whenever I'm not. So yeah, I don't know, because you'd have to find a really good Canadian running back to be able to, a really versatile Canadian running back to be able to do that, which there is some. Like the one at Oklahoma State coming up, but I mean, how much it'll make an effect on the CFL though.
In terms of the CFL offenses with the bigger field, you mentioned that there's 3 downs. Do you think that certain coaches play it differently in terms of style, in terms of the scheme? Is there more concepts with play action? Is there more concepts? You mentioned earlier with deep passes. Is there more concepts, though, that are very different in terms of the variety of the coaches in comparison to the NFL?
No, there's not as much variety. Like, everyone kind of runs the same stuff in the CFL, and it's a copycat league.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we'll install something, and it'll work, and then the next week you'll see a team run the exact same play. And then it's like, I don't know, because the league is so different than the NFL. You can't copy, like, what the NFL does. Like, everyone kind of copies each other in a CFL, and whatever works, like, the next team will do it. So it's kind of hard to and there's only 9 teams, so it makes it hard to, you know, change stuff up a lot. And most of the coaches, they all kind of have the same play style. It just goes on, like, what their core values are.
Who is the biggest smartass in your locker room?
The biggest what?
Smartass. The smart, you know, the prankster, you know, the biggest prankster in your locker room.
The biggest prankster?
Mm-hmm.
Probably Jeremiah Masoli or Mike Filer. Jeremiah Masoli, the quarterback at Oregon a long time ago.
I remember him. He was awesome.
Do you have a story that you can tell us?
Yeah, actually I do. One time, what did Jeremiah do that was so funny? So him and Mike Filer, which is our center, always played pranks on each other. And Jeremiah taped, because Jeremiah tore his ACL, so he was out. And while Mike was out at practice, and it was like a cold, rainy day, like everyone was like super sore. It was like the day after the game. Jeremiah taped his phone all the way up and then like put a marker on it and made it. He taped it in like 2 rolls of tape too, and it was super thick. And he like wrote down like the numbers on it. It looked like foam that was like taped up. Oh, it was so funny. And then Mike was like actually really mad about it, but he got over it.
How about traveling? Do you guys? When I played a lot of travel ice hockey, I played for Team USA for almost 4 years. I was one of the captains of the team, and I was a big prankster on my team, my hockey team. And I remember I was in Canada. I was in Montreal, and what we did was at night I had 2 roommates, and what we did was we tied one of the backup goalie's hands behind his back, and we tied his feet to the post of the bed, and we took shaving cream and we shaved lines in the back of his head. He did not wake up. He was a dead sleeper. I don't know if you guys know what a dead sleeper is. Once he falls asleep, it would take you could throw a football at the back of his head. He wouldn't get up. Okay. And we used to do so many prankster things to him in particular, but we've done it to so many things. Have you ever done anything as far as a prank is concerned that was outrageous or crazy, or did anybody put a prank on you which was outrageous or crazy?
No, I can't say. I've honestly had pretty good luck with pranks. I'm trying to think of something. I'm sure the vet did something to me, but I can't really remember. But
of course you can't. You don't want to embarrass yourself.
Because but I've never been much of a prankster just because I feel like if I did that to someone, then they'd give it back to me worse. So I try to just stay in my own lane. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I'm sure I've been pranked. I know I had to dress up for Halloween. They made me dress up like Tom Cruise off of Top Gun because I had a mustache. That's about as bad. Like I had to aviators, and they all laughed at me. But I mean, that's about as bad as it got. But I honestly look good, so I didn't.
You look more like a goose, not a maverick. I can tell you that. You look like more goose than you do maverick. I can tell you that. But
it was goose.
You definitely look more like Goose than you do Maverick.
Yeah, they call me Goose.
Really, they do?
Oh,
they do? They call you Goose?
Yeah, they call me Goose around the locker room.
Well, you kind of look like Goose. You do. You definitely do.
I appreciate that. I'll take it as a compliment.
Was that part of the irony of why they made you dress up as Maverick?
Well, I guess that's his answer right there. Before we let you go, is there a particular person, that you looked up to in your family that pushed you to go for your dreams and now play for the CFL? Was it your mom, your father, your sister, your brother, your aunt, your uncle, your grandparents? Was there a particular person that always pushed you for success when it comes to sports?
Probably my mom.
Really?
Mom has, pushed me the most. She actually battled breast cancer whenever I was in high school.
I'm sorry to hear that.
And
Sorry to
her
hear
mom passed away. And so she's pretty tough. Like, she's the toughest person that I know. So if I ever got down about, like, losing a game or something, she would just tell me, it could be way worse, Jaelon. And then I'd be like, yeah, it could. So, she just kind of drove me to be who I am today. And even, like, now, like, if I ever have, like, a bad game or, like, something, I'll just call her, and then she'll set me straight and tell me to go to the weight. I'll be like, all right, Mom.
How is your mom doing?
Yeah, she pushes me to be the best.
How is your mom doing?
She's doing good. She's I think she's like folding clothes or doing laundry right now. She's always doing something around the house.
Have you ever been to New York? Jaelon?
I've been once. I've only been to like the Albany part. I've never been to like
Albany.
New York City.
Okay.
Yeah, Albany.
So you never been to Long Island? You never been to New York City? You never got a chance to see the bright lights of New York?
No. I want to though one day. But,
I'll tell you what. If you guys ever have the opportunity to come out here, I would love to have you in the studio. Love to do a show with you joining us live, and we'll show you around New York City. I would love to show you around the great New York City. If you ever come out here, we'll definitely stay in contact. We would love for you to come and join us on a live radio show.
Okay, sweet. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'll tell you this right now. If there's anybody that knows New York as well as anybody, it would be me. I've lived here practically my whole life, and we live in Long Island. And if you don't know what Long Island is, you've heard of the Hamptons. So that's where all the movie stars and all the athletes go out, in the summertime and hang out and party it up. Well, obviously not with COVID-19, but the Hamptons are very well known out here in Suffolk County and Nassau County. But there's 5 boroughs, and it's a beautiful city if you're just coming to visit. If you're coming to live, run for your life.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I've heard. But yeah, for sure, if I ever come and visit, I'll keep in touch with you guys. I'd love to come in sometime.
Absolutely. Jaelon, why don't you tell the fans how they can find you on social media?
You can find me on Instagram. Not much of a Twitter guy. At Jaelon_Acklin, and then that's pretty much all I got really is Instagram and Twitter. I'm not much of a TikTok guy. Like TikTok.
Thank God.
Well, Jaelon, I want you guys to follow. I want you to follow us on Instagram. I want you to follow us on Twitter. I don't know if you're following us yet, but I want to give a shout out to Jillian and Ricky. They're the ones that reached out to you. They read a couple of things about you, a couple of stories about you, and said we have to get Jaelon on. You sound like a really good kid. I hope all your dreams and admirations come true, and I hope one day we see you in the NFL. We've seen, look at Adam Thielen, what he has done. It's unbelievable. It's a remarkable story. Adam Thielen, who wasn't even drafted, he was a walk-on with the Minnesota Vikings because he's from Minnesota, and he's come down to be, in the last 3 years, one of the best wide receivers in the league. So it's a remarkable story. And being that you're 6'2", and you're, I don't know what did you run your 40 in? What did you run your 40?
4.48.
Really? Wow.
That's nice.
Yeah.
You're pretty fast, man.
Some wheels, guys.
I got some wheels.
Not bad. I got a 39-inch vertical.
Really?
Wow.
Kind of
Wow.
I'm not gonna lie.
So you can play. You play basketball. So you play basketball.
I can ball.
Really? Well, I'll be the judge of that. When you come out to New York.
Take me to the pages.
Oh, well, I'll tell you this. When you come out to New York, we'll have to play a little one-on-one, my friends.
I'll broadcast.
That's it.
What did you say? I'm sorry, Jaelon.
But I'm down with that.
Absolutely. So we'll stay in touch. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And definitely, if your family ever wants to come out here, I'd love to show you around. I have a lot of connections out here as far as VIP things when it comes to wineries and stuff like that. If you guys ever want to come out here, we'll definitely show you around.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thanks for having me on, too.